When I was 8 years old, after my mother had given birth to 7 daughters in a row, she finally had a son after 8 years of waiting. To ensure her son had food, grew quickly, and was healthy, my grandmother sold her most beautiful granddaughter to human traffickers for $500. I cried and begged my grandmother to sell me instead of my older sister, but she said I was more useful and didn't want to sell a worker like me. The trafficker saw that I was obedient and listened, so he paid my grandmother an extra $100 to take me away. I endured much suffering, but finally met good people and brought my fiancé, a military officer, home. Unexpectedly, I was imprisoned by my younger sister, who was already married and had 3 children. Despite my pleas, she allowed her one-eyed husband to humiliate and torture me. They blinded one of my eyes, severed the tendons in my hands and feet, and broke bones throughout my body, leaving me to die a miserable death. When I opened my eyes again, I found I had returned to the exact day my grandmother sold my older sister. In this life, I absolutely will not be a foolish good person anymore. You're listening to a story on the Romantic Twist Reviews channel. Don't forget to hit follow to enjoy fascinating stories updated daily. Grandma, I beg you, let my older sister Sarah go instead of me. I promise to be obedient and work hard. Everyone says I'm the prettiest. When I grow up, I'll marry a good man. As long as you don't sell me, I'll definitely be good to you, sniff, sniff. Through my tear-blurred vision, I saw my younger sister, Chloe, wailing, looking like she was about to faint before my eyes. I couldn't believe my eyes witnessing this chillingly familiar scene. My younger sister, Chloe, who even at 99, before she died, maintained a plump and prosperous appearance, her hateful voice still seemed to echo in my ears. Yet, I had just opened my eyes and was seeing her delicate 6-year-old self again. Slap. A resounding slap landed squarely on my face. You jinx. You dare suggest swapping places with your sister? I'll beat you to death. Grandma yelled angrily, then delivered another slap to my younger sister Chloe's mouth. You little brat. Stop your yapping. Useless at work, but great at eating. I knew what you'd be like since you were 3. One look at you and I knew you were no good. Cry anymore and I'll beat you, you waste of food. She slapped so hard that Chloe's small, pale lips immediately started bleeding. My own face burned as if on fire, reminding me that I was no longer a wandering soul of several decades. I had been reborn. Reborn on the exact day Grandma wanted to sell my younger sister to support the newborn baby brother. I looked at my younger sister, Chloe. The little girl who had been struggling to breathe had now stopped crying. Her whole body stood still as if possessed, and then her eyes began to sweep over everyone nearby. Finally, her gaze landed on me. That gaze was absolutely not something a 6-year-old child could possess, it was cold and sharp. My heart suddenly tightened. Instantly, I realized that perhaps, my younger sister Chloe had also been reborn. I hurriedly acted protectively towards Chloe, spreading my arms out in front of her. Grandma, let me go instead of her. She's too young, I'm afraid she'll cry herself to death as soon as she's sold. It'll be troublesome if that man comes back demanding money then. I said, then turned to the trafficker, Sir, please buy me. I'll be obedient and listen, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do it. Sir, you should buy me, I'm much more obedient and sensible than Chloe. I'm 10 years old this year, I can do a lot of work. My sister Amy said anxiously. Sir, you should still buy me. I'm 12 years old this year, in 2 more years I can bear children. If you buy me, you'll get a higher price. My sister Beth also hurriedly pleaded. The trafficker had never encountered goods that so actively demanded to be sold. Just like in my previous life, a look of interest appeared on his cunning, rat-eyed face. Ma'am, this granddaughter of yours is resisting too much. If she dies on the road after just a few days, we'll have to come back here and demand compensation from you. But this 6th granddaughter, Sarah, is obedient and listens, we'll buy her. Just like in the previous life, the traffickers again chose the obedient one, me, Sarah. But this time, I wasn't afraid of being sold anymore. Because my younger sister Chloe had also been reborn. In her past life, she had a crazy obsession with my military fiancé, Daniel. In this life, she would never let me be sold in her place as before. The traffickers didn't consider the older girls. They were afraid that after being sold, the girls would run back home, causing trouble with the buyers. A calculating glint flashed in Grandma's aged eyes. No. This granddaughter, Sarah, though only 8, is the quickest worker among my granddaughters. Raise her a few more years and she can be married off. The betrothal money then will be better than selling her to you. To Grandma, it didn't matter whether she sold me or Chloe. She just wanted to make more money. Mother, how about we sell Sarah? Sarah is ugly, she won't fetch much of a betrothal gift later anyway. Under the scorching June sun, my mother's words were like a bucket of cold water dumped on my head, making my heart ache with a sharp pain. Strangely, in my previous life, I hadn't felt heartbroken at all. On the contrary, I was grateful that my mother had pleaded for Chloe, accepting my sale. Indeed, only after growing up can one understand the subtleties of emotions. Grandma, my mom is right, I'm ugly, and I won't fetch much of a betrothal gift when I grow up. Sell me, to spare Chloe. I repeated the exact same words I had used to beg my grandmother in my previous life. In front of Chloe, I couldn't reveal that I had also been reborn. In her past life, she was a noble old lady who lived to be 99. As for me, I was just a wandering ghost for several decades. I was afraid I couldn't win against her. When not strong enough, the first thing to do is to preserve one's strength. No. Even if she's not pretty, she's a good worker. If you want to buy Chloe, you have to pay more. Grandma said sternly. The trafficker looked at me for a moment then said, $600 at most, take it or leave it, we'll get goods elsewhere. That's right. In this poor, backward mountainous region, daughters were no different from commodities, bought and sold by their relatives as if they had no souls. $600 it is. Hand over the money, and she's yours. Grandma pretended to be reluctant, but her voice showed no regret. The trafficker counted out a thick stack of $10 bills and handed them to my grandmother. Her eyes lit up, and she took the money and began to count each bill with fascination. I held Chloe's hand, crying and panting, just like in my previous life, choking out instructions, "Little sister, I won't be home anymore. You have to be good, work hard, and don't make Grandma angry. Help Mom look after little brother Leo, and absolutely don't fight with him for food." Chloe pulled her hand away from mine, smiling sweetly at the trafficker. "Sir, I've thought it over. I agree to go with you. I'll obey whoever you sell me to, and I absolutely won't cause any trouble." My younger sister Chloe was like a blooming flower, and so obedient and well-behaved, which made the trafficker adore her. "Weren't you unwilling just now?" "Why the change of heart?" the trafficker asked, puzzled. I thought about it. My older sister loves me so much, I can't just think about myself. I'm already 6 years old, I should also share the family's burden. For a child to say such pleasant words made the trafficker like her even more. "All right then. Come with me, I'll find you a good family." And so, the trafficker led away the beautiful, sweet-talking little girl, my younger sister Chloe. Before stepping through the muddy courtyard gate, Chloe turned her head to look at me, her innocent face blooming with a triumphant smile. It was the smile of someone thrilled to be stepping into a dreamlike beautiful life. My eyes were red as I shouted loudly, "Chloe. Be good, don't be greedy." In my previous life, to gain Chloe's forgiveness, I told her how I willingly married into the family of the sick simpleton, my husband in the previous life, and how they tortured me. But I never revealed a single word about how I met my fiancé, Daniel. If Chloe wanted to walk my life path from the previous life, she would definitely have to be sold to that simpleton's family as a child bride. But that family was truly perverse. They only wanted a donkey to turn the millstone, not to feed the donkey grass. In my previous life, if I ate just one extra mouthful of rice, the husband and wife would immediately pounce on me and beat me relentlessly. Slap. As I was lost in thought, a stinging slap landed squarely on my right cheek, burning with an agonizing pain. "You useless thing, can't even protect your younger sister, what's the use of keeping you?" My mother cursed with disgust and kicked me in the hip. I was only 8 years old, weighing just over 20 pounds, skinny as a rake. Kicked by my mother, my whole body flew into the air. My face hit the ground hard, my lips were torn by the gravel, and the metallic taste of blood immediately filled my mouth. It was one thing for my grandmother to favor boys over girls, but for my mother, a woman, to despise her own daughter, to treat her child like a cheap commodity to be sold, that was the most hateful thing. I glared at my obese mother and my grandmother, who was engrossed in counting money, my heart filled with indignation. In this life, I will definitely make those who favor boys over girls, those who caused the deaths of us 6 sisters, pay the price. My mother saw me looking and, getting angry again, tried to kick me, but Beth and Amy stopped her, one hugged her, the other held her leg. Mom, don't hit Sarah anymore. She kept asking that man to buy her. It was Chloe who suddenly changed her mind. Sarah didn't do anything wrong. Beth cried and begged. My mother slapped them both, then grabbed their hair, pulling as if to tear it out. Useless bunch. Wastes of food. Get out. I have to beat this useless thing to death. Enough. You just gave birth to Leo. If you get that angry, your milk will dry up. If there's nothing for him to drink, I'll skin you alive. Get back in the house and feed him now. Grandma roared. My mother, who had been like a crazed wolf, immediately shrank back, cowering like a frightened lamb, and scurried into the house. Beth, Amy, you two go to the market and buy 2 hens, 5 pounds of eggs, 5 pounds of meat, and 2 boxes of malted milk. Be careful, if you break a single egg, I'll skin you. Grandmother took out 2 $10 bills and gave them to Beth. She then led Amy out. Sarah, you go up the mountain and pick some mushrooms. Tonight I'm stewing chicken for your mother to eat. Grandma ordered me. Yes, Grandma. I put the bamboo basket on my back and quickly ran off. Once on the mountain, I went into the forest full of weeds and mosquitoes and started picking mushrooms. With the medical knowledge from my previous life, in this life I knew how to choose mushrooms and wild vegetables. Although I was only 8 years old, inside me was the soul of a 22-year-old. Soon, I had picked a full basket of mushrooms and wild greens. In my previous life, Daniel had taught me self-defense and wilderness survival skills. I made myself a bow and tried to hunt wild chickens. Unexpectedly, a skill I had never used in my previous life allowed me to hit a wild chicken on my very first try in this life. I built a fire, plucked the chicken, wrapped it tightly in leaves, and placed it in the fire to roast. I hid on the mountain, deliciously ate a roasted chicken, then leaned against a tree to rest. I had a dream. In the dream was my entire long and tragic previous life. I was sold by traffickers to a family with a foolish son in a remote area, becoming a child bride, living in a state of terrible abuse for several years. At 13, on my wedding night, my 30-year-old foolish husband suddenly had an epileptic seizure and died. My parents-in-law accused me of killing their son and planned to bury me alive with him. I desperately begged for help, struggled and resisted, and was luckily saved by an officer conducting outdoor combat training, Daniel. He wanted to take me back home. But I understood clearly that if I returned, I still wouldn't escape the fate of being disdainfully married off by my grandmother. I burst into tears, begging him to help me find a job. Daniel arranged for me to work in the unit's canteen and also enrolled me in evening literacy classes. Because he was often injured, I studied hard for him. At 17, I was admitted to medical university. A year later, we started dating. At 22, I graduated and started working at the military district hospital. After my job stabilized, I brought Daniel home to meet my family. My grandmother and parents were overjoyed when they saw me bring a military officer home, tearfully recounting the hardships of the past years. They told of how my 5 older sisters had all been tortured to death by their in-laws. My youngest sister Chloe was married off by grandmother to a one-eyed bachelor in the next town for only $5,000 in betrothal money. At only 20, she was already the mother of 3 children. Her hair was messy, her face grimy, and she looked old beyond her years. She said she had prepared a dowry for me and invited me to her home to get it. Unexpectedly, as soon as I arrived at her house, she and her one-eyed husband tied me up. Ignoring my pleas, she let her husband humiliate and torture me. The 2 of them beat me until one of my eyes was blind, severed the tendons in my hands and feet, and broke bones all over my body. I was better off dead. When her one-eyed husband was about to rape me again, she suddenly swung an axe and smashed his head. Then, she used the same axe to strike her own leg. My younger sister Chloe laughed maniacally and screamed at me, "You bitch. You stole the happiness that was rightfully mine. You life stealer. Go to hell." I was held by my crazed sister, using the dying one-eyed husband's hand, and stabbed repeatedly. Finally, I died miserably in a pool of blood. After death, I became a vengeful spirit, following Chloe relentlessly. I witnessed Chloe crying pitifully in front of Daniel, blaming everything on her one-eyed husband. She said she was disabled, couldn't raise 3 children, and hoped Daniel would take pity and help her. Daniel was a very kind person and loved me to the core. He took Chloe and her 3 children to live with him and take care of them. Those 3 children grew up and were all placed in the army by Daniel. As a result, those 3 wolves in sheep's clothing turned around and falsely accused him of corruption and bribery. Daniel was so aggrieved that he committed suicide to prove his innocence. But the final conclusion was suicide due to fear of punishment, the charge of embezzlement established. After Daniel died, my spirit still did not leave Chloe. Her 3 wretched children continued to get promoted, one by one holding high positions, but they were all worthless people. And Chloe became an old woman sought after everywhere, revered wherever she went. At 99, while dying in her hospital bed, she was still murmuring with regret and resentment, "Sarah Davis, it's all because of you that I'm dying so early. If I had married Daniel, I would definitely have lived happily to 110. I wouldn't have had to live as a widow for so many years. I hate you. I hate you to death, you thief." I snapped awake from the nightmare, drenched in cold sweat. In this life, I will definitely not let the tragedy of my previous life repeat itself. Those who treated me well, I will protect to the end. And those who hurt me, no one will be spared. Right now, the people I need to save first are Beth and Amy. In the previous life, they also couldn't escape being forced into early marriages by grandmother. The 3 eldest sisters died young one after another, so when Beth and Amy married into their husbands' families, they were considered bad omens. Their in-laws beat and cursed them without mercy. Beth was beaten until she miscarried at 7 months pregnant, 2 lives lost. Amy was tortured until she went insane, finally buying a packet of rat poison and ending her own life along with her cruel in-laws' entire family. I brushed the dust off myself, put the bamboo basket on my back, and walked towards the road I knew Beth and Amy would take to return to the village. Before long, I saw the figures of my 2 sisters, thin and hunched over from their burdens, walking towards me. I hurried out to meet them. "Beth, Amy, because Grandma wants our little brother Leo to eat well and dress well, she sold Chloe. After she spends all the money from selling her, it will be my turn to be sold," I said, tears welling up in my eyes. Beth and Amy hugged me, and hearing me cry, they also choked up and shed tears. "Sarah, don't worry, we'll try our best to work and earn food for the family, we won't let Grandma sell you." Eldest sister married at 13, gave birth to 2 daughters, and was beaten to death by her in-laws. Second sister married at 14, was beaten by her husband until she went mad and ran away, nobody knows if she's alive or dead now. Third sister also married at 14, and after only a year of marriage, her in-laws called her a hen that couldn't lay eggs and demanded to send her back. Grandma and our parents forced her to drink pesticide and commit suicide. After she died, our parents even used that as an excuse to demand $100 in compensation from her in-laws. I'm so scared. I'm afraid the 3 of us will also die tragically like them. I cried until I trembled, causing Beth and Amy to also choke up, wiping their tears. "No, Beth and I will protect you, we won't let them sell you," Amy said, her eyes red. "But sisters, no matter how much work we do, it's not as good as earning money to make Grandma happy. To survive, we have to earn money. But even adults can't earn money, where would we get it? Sisters, last night I had a strange dream. In the dream, someone showed me how to make money. Tomorrow, can you 2 go with me and try it once? If we really make money, maybe we can even buy Chloe back." "What way is it?" Beth asked, looking at me hopefully after hearing this. "You'll know tomorrow. You have to keep it a secret, absolutely don't tell Grandma I dreamed of a way to make money. I'm afraid if we don't make anything, Grandma will be disappointed and beat me." "Don't worry, we definitely won't tell," Amy quickly replied. The 3 sisters returned home together. As soon as they stepped into the courtyard, grandmother scolded coldly, "Slow as turtles, none of you are as useful as my eldest son." My sisters and I silently endured it, preparing the chicken, plucking feathers, and starting the fire to cook. I put all my effort into making a pot of chicken soup stewed with mushrooms and wild greens, divided it into 3 bowls, and served it to my parents and grandmother. There was still half a pot of soup left, but none of us, the 3 sisters, got to eat even a mouthful. We could only sit in the corner of the courtyard, silently eating thin porridge with wild greens, watching the three of them gnaw on meat and slurp soup noisily, their mouths greasy. Having already eaten a whole wild chicken on the mountain, I didn't feel hungry at all. But Beth and Amy kept swallowing their saliva. "You dare look at me with those rotten eyes again, I'll gouge them out right now." My father, Earl, threw the cleanly gnawed chicken thigh bone at Amy's face, his expression vicious. "This starving little brat. Seeing as you cooked the soup passably, here's a piece of meat for you." My mother threw a nearly picked clean chicken neck at Amy. The chicken neck fell to the ground, covered in mud. "You little brat, you won't eat the meat I give you, are you itching for another beating?" My mother glared fiercely at Amy. Amy trembled with fear and hurriedly bent down to pick up the muddy chicken neck. "Mom, the chicken meat is dirty, eating it will cause a stomachache." I immediately stopped her. "Look at that, this useless, good-for-nothing thing, I give her meat and she dares to complain. I'm so angry I'm about to lose milk for my son." My mother wailed, clutching her chest as if to express her extreme anger. As soon as my father, Earl, heard that the milk of his family's hope for continuing the lineage might be affected, he immediately jumped up in anger. He grabbed a leather strap used for weaving baskets in the courtyard, his face ferocious, and whipped us three sisters relentlessly. "I'll teach you to be picky. You don't even appreciate meat when it's given to you. Today I'll beat you three good-for-nothings to death." "Dad, I was wrong. Don't hit me. I'll eat whatever you give me." I quickly picked up the dirty chicken neck, stuffed it into my mouth, bit down hard, and forced myself to swallow it. Then I felt so nauseous I had to vomit. In return, I received an even more brutal beating. "Useless good-for-nothing. You dare to spit out such delicious food. Go to hell." Beth and Amy hugged me tightly, sobbing as they shielded me with their bodies. Unlike in my previous life, I didn't push them away, just lay still and let the leather strap lash all three of us. Let him hit. The more it hurt, the more determined Beth and Amy would be to escape this family. My father, Earl, tired from hitting, sat down to eat again, chewing and slurping the chicken soup noisily. My two sisters and I huddled in the corner of the courtyard, trembling and holding each other, not daring to move. Through the gaps in my fingers, I saw the three of them looking smug, eating and drinking their fill. In this era of scarcity, my parents still ate until they were two fat blobs. And that plumpness was exchanged for the lives of my three older sisters. They sucked the blood of their daughters to live, yet they didn't even consider their daughters human. The thought of killing them all surged even more intensely within me. The next morning, while Grandma, Mommy, Dad, and little brother Leo were still sound asleep, I quietly fumbled in the dim light and woke up Beth and Amy. It was a 15-kilometer walk from home to the town. If we wanted to get to the county town early to arrange things for my two sisters, we definitely had to wake up very early. My two sisters were still drowsy, rubbing their eyes awake. By the time the three of us reached the street, the sun was already high. I took my sisters on the bus to the county town. As soon as we got off, Beth curiously asked, "Sarah, how are we going to make money with empty hands like this?" "Find a job, of course." "Find a job? Who would hire country folk like us?" In an era when even adults didn't have enough to eat or wear, a 12-year-old girl wanting to work was truly an unimaginable thing. But one could become an apprentice, learn a trade from someone. Beth, Amy, the person in my dream the other day who taught me how to make money, said that as long as I can get you out of the house and not go back, you'll have a chance to find a job. Think carefully. Do you want to be like our three older sisters, sold by our parents for money, and then tortured to death by your in-laws? Or stay in the county town and work? The two sisters looked at each other, their eyes full of hesitation. After a moment of deliberation, they looked down at the bruises on their bodies and nodded. Finally, they decided to stay in the county town and find work. Beth was skilled with her hands and good at sewing, so I took her to a tailor shop. The shop owner was a 50-year-old auntie. In my previous life, when Daniel and I strolled through the county market, I saw her shop was doing very well, with many apprentices inside. I told my two sisters to wait outside, then went into the shop to discuss with the owner about taking Beth on as an apprentice. Seeing I was just a child, she was cutting fabric and waved me away. That was until I placed a stack of $10 bills in front of her. "Ma'am, my mother said to let my older sister apprentice here for half a year. If she can't learn the trade in half a year, you can just send her back." Because of that apprenticeship fee, the shop owner agreed to let Beth stay. She even praised my mother as a good person in these times, saying few would spend money for their daughters to learn a trade. I smiled. Yes, my mother is a very good mother. Amy was a good cook. At a young age, she could already make beautiful, flower-shaped steamed buns. I used a similar method to get Amy an apprenticeship at a breakfast diner. Both sisters were hardworking and diligent. I believed it wouldn't be long before the shop owners would grow fond of these two apprentices. After settling things for my two sisters, I took a bus back to town. Throughout the journey, my eyes shone with excitement. Cruel father, incompetent mother, vicious grandmother, your best, most obedient granddaughter, has returned to save you. Oh, and I almost forgot about that darling little brother, Leo. He's quite adorable now. But later he'll become a spoiled, degenerate demon, and under the protection of his older sister's 3 children, he'll rape many young girls and torture them to tragic deaths. Big sister, we'll dote on you too. The bus swayed continuously, and after 2 hours, it reached the town. I bought 2 wild chickens, some more mushrooms and wild greens, then walked home. When I got home, just as I predicted, after eating the chicken soup I had painstakingly cooked for them, grandmother, mom, dad, Earl, and even Leo, my breastfeeding baby brother, were still in a daze and hadn't woken up. Grandma, wake up. Dad, Mom, you two wake up quickly too. I shook each of them in turn. Grandmother rubbed her head, still dizzy, muttering, You brat, I'm not awake yet, what are you waking me up for? Grandma, the sun is about to set and you're still not awake? As soon as she heard me say that, she panicked and immediately opened the wooden chest where she kept her money. Good heavens! Who stole my money? Her furious roar startled my parents awake. Without even bothering to put on their slippers, they rushed in. Mom! How much money did you lose? Damn it. I scraped together $1,500 my whole life, now there's only $300 left. A big chunk was stolen. Grandmother was so angry her eyes rolled back, as if she was about to faint on the spot. Mom, it's all your fault. I told you so many times, keeping money at home isn't safe, you have to deposit it in the credit union, but you didn't listen. Now it's all stolen. My father, Earl, was so angry he clenched his fists, as if he wanted to rush in and hit her. That's not right. For a rare moment, my mother said something reasonable. If it was a thief, they would have taken everything, why leave 300 behind? Who would be that kind? Grandmother and Father Earl immediately stopped, looked around the room, and their gazes finally landed on me. Where are Beth and Amy? This morning I went to the fields with Beth and Amy to work. They told me to go up the mountain to pick mushrooms for Mom's soup, so I went. On the way, I saw a wild chicken and chased it, caught 2 and brought them back. When I got home, I still didn't see Beth and Amy, they must still be working in the fields. My father, Earl, furious, ran outside to look for them. My mother, seeing the half basket of mushrooms and 2 wild chickens in the yard, immediately swallowed her saliva and ordered me to prepare them for a meal. I obediently complied. Mother breastfed Leo with one hand, while with the other, she and grandmother anxiously awaited news. Half an hour later, my father, Earl, returned with a grim face. Those 2 definitely took the money and ran. We have to report it to the police immediately. No. Grandmother immediately objected. If we report it to the police, they'll trace the source of the money. When our selling Chloe is exposed, the whole family will be ruined. Then what do we do? Just let those 2 damned girls steal all that money? Slap. Grandmother slapped my mother hard across the face. It's all because of you, you useless thing. Giving birth to a bunch of good-for-nothings, now they've ruined the whole family. My mother was used to being slapped around, only since giving birth to my younger brother Leo had she not been beaten. Even if grandmother hit her, she wouldn't dare to say half a word in protest. Mom, don't be angry. Those 2 little brats will spend all the money and won't know where to go, they'll come back eventually. When they do, we'll marry them off to some old bachelors, demand a bit more betrothal money, and make a bunch back. A good-for-nothing will always be a good-for-nothing, keeping them around will only bring disaster. Let me just kill that piece of trash and be done with it. As he spoke, my father, Earl, grabbed the cattle whip, his face murderous, and advanced towards me as I was cooking. Dad, don't hit me. I'll work hard, I definitely won't be like Beth and Amy and steal money from home. Dad, I beg you, don't hit me anymore. If I die, there will be no one left to work in our family. My plea moved grandmother. I was the only granddaughter left in the family. If I was beaten to death, she would lose her last chance to make money. Earl, stop hitting her. If she dies, who will work for this family? How will we get betrothal money to raise Leo, send him to school, and get him a wife? Leo has to become a high official later on. Hearing grandmother say this, my father, Earl, threw down the whip, and the whole family gathered around the table again to discuss finding my two sisters. As for me, covered in injuries, I continued to cook as if nothing had happened. Looking at the wounds on my body, the firelight flickered on my face, a face contorted with excitement. I was the one who stole the money. I intentionally left them $300 as ransom for my life. I brought the fragrant chicken soup to the table. They discussed for a long time but couldn't come up with any sensible plan. Grandmother ladled a full bowl of meat and broth, her aged eyes looking at me with incomprehensible scrutiny. Eat. I knew she suspected I had done something to the soup yesterday, so I happily accepted the bowl of meat soup. But my mother didn't understand her intentions and grumbled irritably, Mom, why are you feeding that good-for-nothing? Such good meat, it's a waste on her. Shut up. If you talk any more nonsense, you won't get to eat either. Scolded by grandmother, my mother immediately fell silent, not daring to utter another word. The next morning, grandmother woke up even earlier than I did, her dark circles like a panda's. You could say she was up all night, how could she sleep after losing that much money? Seeing the whole family wake up healthy, she gradually dismissed her suspicion that I had poisoned the food. For the next half-month, I was busy every day. Grandmother sent me to the mountains to catch wild chickens, but I came back empty-handed every time. With no other choice, she had to tell my father, Earl, to go to town to buy them. As long as it was for Leo to eat well, grandmother spared no expense. From having $900 in savings, plus selling my younger sister, now only $300 remained, but she still didn't regret it. It just showed how much she doted on this legitimate grandson. But strangely, my mother ate more and more, and her body grew fatter and fatter. Leo, on the other hand, grew thinner and thinner, his complexion sallow. Grandmother thought perhaps mother wasn't getting enough nutrition, so every day she made me cook all sorts of nourishing soups for her. Chicken soup, duck soup, fish soup, meat soup, every meal had to have them. In less than a month, my mother's figure had visibly ballooned. During that time, I also discovered the secret between my father, Earl, and the widow May next door. Every few days, they would sneak into the woods or the cornfield for a tryst. That day, seeing them sneak into the cornfield again, I excitedly ran straight home. At this time, my mother had just finished lulling Leo to sleep. Get out. You stink so bad, don't you dare make my son stink. My mother frowned with disgust, shooing me away. Faced with such contempt, I didn't get angry at all. My eyes were now filled with excited light. Mom, I saw an injured wild boar run into the cornfield. Let's go catch it, Mom. My mother's eyes immediately lit up. Mom, I'm afraid if we can't catch it, Grandma and Dad will be disappointed. Let's just the two of us go catch it secretly, and then surprise them, okay? My mother readily agreed. So, I carried a can of oil and led my mother aggressively to catch the wild boar. When we reached the cornfield, I whispered, Mom, keep it down, or the wild boar will get scared and run away. I signaled for Mom to pour the oil. After she finished pouring, I told her to light the fire. Since she only brought one box of matches, my mother had to quickly light the fire in one spot and then hurriedly run to another spot to light it again. The dry cornfield was already flammable, and with the addition of oil and wind, the flames roared fiercely. While Mom was setting the field on fire, I ran to call some people working in the nearby fields, shouting, there's a wild boar. We're using fire to catch it. In these times, hearing there was meat to eat made everyone as happy as if it were a festival. Soon, a crowd of people holding hoes and shovels gathered in front of the fire. But no one heard the squealing of a wild boar as expected, nor did they see any charred animal run out. Instead, very quickly, they heard a tragic scream, the cry of a man and a woman. Ah! Ah! Earl! Why is the fire so big? Quick, save! Ah! Help! Help me! Who set this fire? I, Earl Davis, even if I become a vengeful ghost, I won't let you go. Aya. The roaring flames mixed with the smell of burning dried corn. The air was filled with their miserable screams. Hearing each scream, I only felt the blood in my veins boil with excitement. In the past, there was Neza who cut his flesh to repay his father. Today, there is me, Sarah Davis, setting fire to burn her father. Revenge achieved, it was truly an unparalleled feeling of ecstasy. And the matter of Widow May being burned along with him? I felt no guilt. She was the one who constantly drilled into grandmother's head the idea that daughters are useless. After Beth and Amy ran away, it was she who instigated grandmother to sell me off too, fearing I would also run away, leaving grandmother empty-handed, losing both person and money. I hear Dad's voice. Mr. Henderson. My dad is still in there. Please save my dad. I knelt before the village leader, Mr. Henderson, crying as I said, Mr. Henderson, please save my dad. If my dad dies, my whole family won't be able to survive. The fire was too big, even if people wanted to save them, no one dared to rush into the raging inferno. Very quickly, the screams of the two people in the fire died down. It sounds like Widow May's voice. It's not a trapped wild boar, it's Widow May and Earl Davis. Good heavens. Earl Davis and Widow May were having an affair and got burned to death by Earl's wife. It's murder. She'll definitely go to jail. Hearing the crowd's excited chatter, my mother, whose face had already turned deathly pale, immediately slumped to the ground as if all her strength had been drained. You bitch. You good for nothing. You set me up, didn't you? My mother glared at me with hatred. As for me, I had started crying the moment I heard my father's name, and now I was crying so hard I couldn't breathe. Hearing my mother scold me, I cried even harder. Mom, how could I set you up? I really saw an injured wild boar run into the cornfield. I didn't know Dad and Mrs. May were in there. This field has already been harvested, what were they doing in there anyway? My innocent words made the surrounding crowd burst into laughter. What adult wouldn't understand the hidden meaning in that? You bitch. You really are a born devil. I have to kill you. Seeing my mother go crazy and rush towards me, the villagers immediately stepped forward to block her. Earl's wife, don't go too far. You beat and curse your child every day, you think we don't know? Your 3 eldest daughters were sold by you and your husband when they were tiny, one died from abuse by her in-laws after childbirth, another committed suicide by drinking pesticide, Beth and Amy ran away, Chloe was sold off, and now you want to kill Sarah too? How many cruel mothers like you are there in this world? The village leader's wife, Mrs. Henderson, hugged me, angrily pointing at my mother and scolding her. Hearing her words, the surrounding villagers also joined in the criticism. My grandmother trembled as she walked over, looking at the still raging fire. Hearing that her only son had been burned to death, she immediately went mad and lunged at my mother, clawing and tearing at her. Soon, my mother was beaten until her face was bruised and her whole body was covered in blood. Seeing that she had been beaten enough, I burst into tears, broke free from Mrs. Henderson's embrace, and ran to shield my mother. Grandma, please don't hit my mom anymore. If Mom dies, who will breastfeed my little brother Leo? Because of the living milk bottle for her precious legitimate grandson, grandmother finally decided not to report it to the police. Widow May's family came to demand compensation, and grandmother had to give them $200 to shut them up. After arranging Father Earl's funeral, grandmother checked the family's accounts, only $300 remained. From then on, she no longer made me cook nourishing soup for mother every day. My mother quickly no longer had enough milk to breastfeed Leo. Leo cried incessantly from hunger, which pained grandmother, so she again sent me to buy meat for mother to eat. Mother ate well for a few days, but still had no milk. Seeing her legitimate grandson so thin he was just skin and bones, grandmother angrily grabbed a broom and whipped mother relentlessly. Having lost her ability to breastfeed, my mother was sent to work in the fields every day, and at night she was still scolded and beaten by grandmother. Her obese body, long unaccustomed to heavy labor, would be drenched in sweat and exhausted after just a few swings of the hoe. At night, after dinner, mother would just hug the skeletal Leo and fall into a deep sleep. Life passed peacefully like this for half a month. Until one sunny morning, as I was preparing breakfast in the kitchen, I suddenly heard my mother's tragic cry from the room, Leo. Leo, don't scare mommy. Grandmother, who was sleeping in her room, immediately bolted upright and saw my mother holding the stiff, cold-limbed baby. The body, crushed out of shape, was Leo. Her eyes immediately reddened with anger, and she grabbed the iron shovel by the door and rushed to attack my mother. "You rotten woman! You crushed my legitimate grandson to death. I'll kill you." My mother was hit squarely on the head with the shovel, her mind went blank, her sanity snapped, and she too went mad. She snatched the shovel and turned to strike grandmother back. How could grandmother's frail, 60-something-year-old body withstand my mother's over 100-pound frame? She was knocked to the ground immediately. "Well done. You dare hit me? I'll report you to the police. I'll say you committed arson and killed my son. You're a murderer. Let's see if the police don't shoot you dead." My mother, already afraid of death, heard grandmother's words and the blood rushed to her head. She continued to frantically swing the shovel down on my grandmother's head. I immediately ran out into the yard to call for help. "Mr. Henderson. It's bad. My mom's gone crazy. My mom killed my little brother Leo, and now she's trying to kill Grandma too." Very quickly, Mr. Henderson led the villagers to my house. My mother looked at her dead son, and grandmother also lay motionless, so she wildly let go of everything. "Whoever dares to come closer, I'll kill them all." My mother swung the shovel, standing guard in the middle of the yard, looking like a demon in human form. After all, she was just one woman. Dozens of young men rushed forward and coordinated, quickly subduing my mother and tying her up like a pig. The police arrived shortly after. Whatever they asked, I truthfully told them everything I knew. I said that after my father Earl died, my grandmother scolded my mother every day and forced her to do exhausting work without rest. Soon, the police came to a conclusion. The grandmother excessively abused her daughter-in-law. My mother, due to extreme exhaustion, fell into a deep sleep and unknowingly crushed her son to death. The enraged grandmother wanted to kill her daughter-in-law to avenge her grandson, but unexpectedly, the daughter-in-law fought back and killed her. A tragic murder case stemming from family conflict. My mother was sentenced to death for causing 4 fatalities. At the end of the case, the police didn't forget to publicize the law. Husbands and mothers-in-law must also exercise restraint and not push women too hard. Otherwise, the fate of the Davis family would be the end for those who look down on women. From beginning to end, no one suspected me. After all, I was just an 8-year-old child. Who could have guessed that the fire that burned my father Earl and widow May to death was instigated by me, through my mother? Who could imagine that an 8-year-old child would know how to use the principle of food incompatibility to cause someone with abundant milk to dry up? Who would have thought that I had mixed herbs from the mountains into their food, causing them to gradually become agitated and paranoid? When psychological panic and pain are pushed to the extreme, madness will multiply, and in their eyes, killing is the only way to escape fear. With my mother arrested, I suddenly became the pitiful orphan in the villagers' mouths. No one wanted to raise a daughter. I put the bamboo basket on my back, saying I had to find my 2 sisters. Everyone said I would surely die on the road sooner or later. While Mr. Henderson and villagers were discussing how to divide my family's land and house, I returned with my 2 older sisters and 4 police officers. With the mindset of if there's a problem, find the police, I asked the police to help us 3 sisters sell all our assets. Finally, holding $1,000 from selling the house and land, I returned to the county town with my 2 sisters. In the county town, I led my sisters to the gate of the county administration building, stood there crying and recounting all the suffering the 3 of us had endured. I portrayed my mother as a pitiful woman, oppressed by my father Earl and grandmother for many years. Love turned to hate, and after discovering her husband's affair, she fiercely resisted. But before that, she still tried to arrange a good future for us 3 sisters, only then did she kill her husband and mother-in-law. Even her youngest son Leo, the family's most beloved child, she took with her. Soon, a large crowd of people gathered in front of the county administration building to watch and express sympathy for us 3 sisters. Faced with public opinion, the county leadership naturally couldn't ignore it. With their assistance, we obtained a small house in the county, though only 1 bedroom and 1 living room. To us, it was the whole world. Because from here on, we were truly free. The nightmares that terrified us every night finally vanished. I advised my 2 sisters to go back to school, but they both refused, saying that apprenticing was better because they weren't suited for books. I advised them for a long time, but they still didn't change their minds. Seeing that my two sisters really didn't like studying, I didn't press them further. However, upon hearing that my mother had tried to entrust the three of us to others before she died, my sisters' two masters treated them much better than before. They didn't hide their skills and were willing to pass on all their techniques to my sisters. I returned to school, slowly walking the path I had never experienced in my previous life. Slowly maturing, slowly absorbing knowledge like a sponge, I absorbed every bit until I was full. 8 years later, at 16, I shocked the entire city with my astounding achievement. With a total score of 699 out of 710, I became the national top scorer in that year's college entrance examination. The deans of Harvard and Stanford immediately came to the small room where my sisters and I lived in the middle of the night to persuade me to apply to their schools. Looking at the simple but neat and tidy house, the two deans nodded in admiration. They said I was like a medical prodigy reincarnated because the major I applied for was clinical medicine. In the end, I chose Stanford. Because Daniel's mother was a professor at the medical school of Stanford. As the top scorer, upon entering university, I immediately became the center of attention for the entire school, students, and faculty alike. Naturally, I also quickly caught the eye of Professor Evans, his mother. In every one of her classes, I actively raised my hand to speak. Professor Evans's gaze towards me grew increasingly appreciative and fond. In my sophomore year of college, Professor Evans invited me to her home, and there, I met again the man I had longed for 10 years. When our eyes met, my heart felt like it would leap out of my chest. In this life, I had spent 10 years transforming myself into the best version, to stand confidently before him. I was no longer the weak, haggard little girl who was almost buried alive by her cruel in-laws like in my previous life. Professor Evans cooked a table full of delicious dishes. But my hands trembled so much I couldn't hold my chopsticks steady. Accidentally dropping food on myself, I stood up to go to the restroom to clean up. The door suddenly opened, and the tall man walked in. I was startled and about to ask when he reached out and hugged me tightly. That embrace felt like it wanted to crush me into his very bones. Before I could push him away, his deep, restrained voice sounded by my ear, "Joy, finally. I've waited for you to grow up." Joy was the name Daniel had given me in my previous life, and it was also my current name. He said he hoped my life thereafter would be peaceful and joyful. Tears immediately welled up in my eyes, and I looked at Daniel in disbelief. You were reborn too?" The man nodded slightly, his eyes glistening with tears. I was still plotting how to win him over, never expecting he had also been reborn. The immense joy made me burst into tears like rain. Then why didn't you come find me sooner? Do you know how much I've endured?" I was both happy and angry, lightly punching his chest with my fist. "My little girl is so brave, her ideal so grand. You used the skills I taught you to roast wild chicken, fight against an entire evil family, rescue your two older sisters from hell, then get into university, becoming the national top scorer. You're so outstanding, how could I dare hold you back?" My eyes widened, he knew everything I had been through these past few years. It turned out, after being reborn, he had come looking for me. Looking at the medals on his chest, I knew that at only 27 this year, Daniel was already a brigade commander. In our sophomore year of university, we confirmed our romantic relationship. Time flew by in a flash, and 5 years later, I obtained my doctoral degree. After graduation, I was invited to work at the military region hospital with excellent compensation, becoming an honored doctor serving the people. After only 1 year of work, I was promoted to department head. In that same year, my wedding with Daniel was held, simple yet solemn, witnessed by the leaders of the military region. Just as we were drinking the ceremonial wine, a soldier hurriedly entered. Reporting to Commander Daniel. "There's a woman claiming to be your wife, requesting to see you." The entire hall immediately fell silent. Everyone looked at me in alarm, afraid the new bride would get angry. "Joy, don't be angry. I can assure you, Daniel absolutely hasn't done anything wrong. If he dares to misbehave, I'll break his legs," my mother-in-law, Professor Evans, said anxiously. I calmly replied, "Mom, I'm not angry. I understand Daniel's character. First, let the person in and ask clearly what's going on." Daniel had been promoted too quickly. At only 31, he was already a division commander, making many people want to find an excuse to pull him down. And in the army, scandalous private affairs were a major taboo. If someone intentionally targeted this point, it wasn't an impossible scenario. Soon, a woman staggered in, her hair disheveled, clothes filthy, her appearance wretched. When she lifted her head, everyone gasped in horror. One of her eye sockets was deeply sunken and empty, as if the eye had been gouged out. The sight was chilling to behold. But for me, who had been a wandering ghost for decades in my previous life, that scene not only didn't scare me, but it also stirred a bloody excitement within me. A wicked voice echoed in my heart, finally, it's time to end this. I can send this evil younger sister Chloe, along with Grandma, Mom, me, Dad, and even Leo, down below for a reunion. Younger sister, is it really you, Chloe? Today, I, Joy, was dressed splendidly. The dozens of years I spent studying had cultivated an aura in me that Chloe could never imagine. Sister, are you Sarah? Yes, Chloe, I am your older sister, Sarah. This is great, I finally found you. I said, reaching out to take Chloe's hand. But she immediately pushed me away, her face contorted with resentment. Impossible. You can't be that country bumpkin bitch Sarah Davis. How can a piece of trash like you have such an aura? In her previous life, my younger sister Chloe lived to be 99 and had met countless young ladies and debutantes. But my current aura was not inferior to any of them. Faced with my dazzling radiance and her own miserable state, Chloe clearly couldn't accept the bitter pain of a failed rebirth. Chloe, I've been looking for you for so many years. Now that I've found you again, it's truly wonderful. From now on, I'll take good care of you and won't let you suffer even a little bit more. I said in a tone of deep sisterly affection. Chloe glanced at me, then at Daniel. Her voice sounded, but only he and I could understand, how did it turn out like this? It clearly started over, I clearly waited for you to come find me. Why in the end, did you still marry her? No. In this life, the one who should have met you is me. The one who should have married you, should be me. Reborn for a lifetime, yet she didn't know how to strive for change, only knowing how to sit foolishly in one place waiting for someone to rescue her pitiful fate. I can only say, in this life, even having her eye gouged out was completely deserved. Chloe, today is a joyous day for me and Daniel. Your arrival is the greatest gift heaven has bestowed upon me. Please, sit down. After we finish the wedding ceremony, we can start the banquet. My words were like a sharp knife stabbing straight into Chloe's heart. She screamed in fury, grabbing a fruit knife and lunging straight at me. Sarah Davis, you bitch who stole my happiness, go to hell. But before she could even get close, Daniel kicked her away, and she was quickly subdued by several soldiers, her hands tied tightly. My younger sister Chloe was sold to human traffickers by our grandmother when she was only 6 years old. She must have suffered a lot these years, and her mental state is severely damaged. Please take my sister to the hospital first, I will come after completing the wedding ceremony. I said in a pained voice. No. I'm not going to the hospital. Let go. I'm not sick. Sarah Davis, you're a thief who stole my life, I'll kill you. Daniel, I'm your bride. I was reborn just to be your wife. Why in both lifetimes, did you not love me? No matter how Chloe cried, screamed, and cursed, she couldn't escape the soldiers' control and was quickly dragged away from the wedding. The wedding continued. Under the solemn and resonant voice of the MC, Daniel and I completed the marriage ceremony. After an unforgettable, passionate wedding night, the next morning, I supported my aching body and went to the hospital. At the hospital, Chloe kept screaming that she was a reincarnated person. My colleagues didn't disappoint me and had arranged for her to be in the psychiatric ward. I stood looking at her lying on the bed, sedated, unable to move, and smiled coldly. You fool, lived to 99 and didn't even know how to use your past life's experience to do some business. If you were a little smarter, you wouldn't be in such a pathetic state in this life. Chloe's eyes widened in terror, her voice shrill as she shrieked, how do you know I lived to 99? Sarah Davis, were you reborn too? When were you reborn? Exactly 1 minute before you. In my previous life, thanks to your gift, I was tortured to death. After I died, I became a vengeful ghost, haunting you for decades. Seeing your inhuman, ghost-like appearance was truly satisfying beyond words. Don't get too cocky. In the previous life, Daniel helped you get into university and become a doctor. I was just an illiterate who never studied a day. How could I compete with you, a university graduate? My sister Chloe, as if she had finally found a reason to forgive her own failure, her face showed a look of miserable resignation. As a good older sister, how could I let her accept her fate so easily? To kill someone, you must kill both body and soul. I wanted to make her endure both physical and mental torment, to pay for the crimes she committed in her previous life. Illiterate? It's because you're too stupid. Do you know how Beth and Amy are doing now? They both attended night school, passed the technical secondary school exams, and married the sons of county leaders. Now each of them has a son and a daughter. Beth owns more than 10 fashion stores, and Amy owns a chain of restaurants. The largest one, Moonlit Pavilion in the capital, belongs to Amy. They are both successful businesswomen with assets worth tens of millions, and their husbands dote on them to the core. And what about you? A reincarnated person, yet you've lived your life like human garbage. Don't you find it ridiculous? One's own failure is pitiful, but the success of others is what truly breeds resentment. Hearing this, Chloe's already resigned eyes immediately filled with a venomous hatred. What? Beth, Amy married officials? And became millionaires? Impossible. Impossible. Why impossible? I was even reborn. How could I not bring happiness to those who truly loved me? Oh right, do you want to know how Mom and Dad are doing now? They treated you so badly, you couldn't have forgiven them? I smiled sinisterly. Still, little sister Chloe understands me best. I sent them. Chloe listened, learning that in less than 2 months after my rebirth, I had sent off both my parents, my grandmother, and even my infant brother Leo. She was so scared her whole body trembled. Sarah Davis, you're a demon. You're insane. Haha, you're absolutely right, Chloe Davis. Big sister here won't let you die easily. I will slowly torture you, until you live as long as you did in your previous life, reaching 100 years old in agony. Hearing me say this, the fierce look in Chloe's remaining eye immediately turned into a pleading gaze. Sister, I was wrong. Please, for the sake of our sisterly bond, spare me this once. I swear I will never do anything to harm you again. I gave a wicked smile, said nothing more, and calmly left. I specifically instructed my colleagues to pay special attention to my younger sister Chloe, to use all kinds of imported neurological treatment drugs, without sparing any expense. In less than a month, Chloe couldn't bear it in the mental institution anymore. On a dark and windy night, she escaped from the hospital. Of course, I had intentionally loosened security. I wanted her to think she was smart, that she had escaped by her own abilities. Not long after she escaped, she was gagged, her mouth covered, and taken to the place she should have gone long ago. 3 months later, on New Year's Eve, my whole family gathered around the dining table, enjoying the New Year's Eve dinner together. The phone rang. I got up to answer it outside. On the other end of the line was a respectful man's voice. Madam, that woman is dead. She fought with that man over a piece of meat, and was beaten to death on the spot. I know. I calmly put down the phone, returned to the dining table, and picked up a piece of braised pork, placing it in my bowl. Today is an auspicious day. Let's eat meat and drink wine to our heart's content. Come, cheers. Some people lose their lives over a piece of meat. As for me, for the rest of my life, I have more meat than I can eat, and no shortage of love.